tree in the middle. Why God warned us about the knowledge of good and evil. Beloved, have you ever wondered why God placed the tree of the knowledge of good and evil in the middle of the garden? Why was it so close to Adam and Eve? Why did God forbid them from eating from it? And what does that tree have to do with us today? The answers reveal one of the greatest spiritual lessons in all of Scripture. Genesis chapter 2, verse 17 says, "But of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it." Then Genesis chapter 3, verse 22 tells us that after Adam and Eve sinned, God prevented them from eating from the tree of life. Many people assume that the story is simply about obedience and disobedience. It is indeed about obedience, but it is also about the source from which man receives knowledge, wisdom, direction, and understanding. From the beginning, God never intended man to live primarily by his physical senses. Man was created to live by fellowship with God and by the leading of his Spirit. Romans chapter 8 verse 14 says, "For as many as are led by the Spirit of God, they are the sons of God." Before the fall, Adam and Eve received direction from God himself. They did not depend on sight, feelings, emotions, appearances, or natural reasoning. Their lives flowed from God's voice and God's presence. The tree of life represented God's life, God's wisdom, and God's continual fellowship. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil represented a different source. It represented knowledge acquired independently of God's leading. Notice carefully that the tree was not called the tree of evil alone. It was called the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. This is important. Not all knowledge obtained through our physical senses is evil. Education is not evil. Learning skills is not evil. Science is not evil. Knowledge itself is not the problem. However, when knowledge becomes separated from God's wisdom and God's guidance, it can become dangerous. The Apostle Paul said in 2 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 6, "The letter killeth, but the Spirit giveth life. Knowledge without the Spirit can produce pride. Information without God can produce deception. Facts without truth can destroy destinies." Today, much of the knowledge that corrupts people enters through the same channels that led Eve into temptation, through what she saw, heard, and eventually tasted. Pornography breeds lust. Violent entertainment breeds aggression. Uncontrolled exposure to social media can breed fear, envy, materialism, depression, anxiety, and covetousness. Not every knowledge that comes through the physical senses is evil, but every evil knowledge enters through the gateway of the physical senses. This is why believers must